making them film.
Championship week. We are here. Not the way we thought we would be, but we are indeed here. I'm alongside Coach Phenom as always. How you doing, man?
Good, good. Thank you for having me on again, Coach.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Hey, congratulations for making the championship game.
Thank you, thank you. Lots said it couldn't be done, and look where we're at.
I think yourself included in that. Lots
This,
of people there.
this is true.
Uh, Tried to get the manager Ed Regular on here as well, but he was stuck in traffic on the way home from the in-laws. I should say future in-laws. So tough there. Would like to get a little repertoire. Can't think of the word that I want to use there, but a little banter anyway. Here's what we're playing for. Not gonna have a filter on, so here's the belt. As you can see there, unfortunately, past year's winners on there. Someone else's name will be etched in history here after this next week's game. So I'll get that ordered. And then for the draft next year, we will get that all taken care of. But that being said, we're going to do what we always do and just dive right into it, take a look at what happened, and see how we got to this not so expected final. But here's the playoff bracket here. We had team Coach Phenom, aka El Nino, going against Connor Among Thieves, and then Fentanyl, aka Rearview Mirror, going up against the Milkman. So just gonna break these down really quick and then dive into the championship matchup here. I'll let you hit on yours, man, since you're the guy that got it done. I want to hear what you got to say.
Oh yeah, I mean, talk about another unexpected week. It's always tough. Like when you have quarterbacks that a lot of times both quarterbacks on his team can score less than 10 fantasy points. So the past 2-3 weeks, Kirk Cousins has just been popping off. I think he's got his eyes set on, that championship for his division, so he's gunning for it. And then what do you call it? Tom Brady just has not been performing, but I kind of thought that he might amp it up this week, but it just didn't happen. The Bills defense was back to normal again this week, so that was relieving. But once again, Nick Folk, I think this might be the second week in a row just not performing. But overall, did not expect the team to put up much above 100, and then for the second week in a row, hitting right around that 130 margin. Even still didn't think that would be enough to take down Connor, but going into that Vegas Pittsburgh game, Josh Jacobs just didn't perform the way that he was expected to. I think 20 points out of him would have been easy. So that right there saved me. And then the fact that Arizona was on their third string quarterback, I think DeAndre Hopkins just didn't stand a chance to get the points he's normally getting. So, a little Christmas miracle for El Nino right here. But not to say that, Connor Among Thieves, hands down the most powerful team this season. I just got really lucky with timing when it came up to playing them by having, Cousins and Kittle pop off past couple weeks. And then honorable mention, Taysom Hill, grabbed that guy, grabbed them up last minute when
I don't know how you got him, man. How is he just hanging out there?
That's what I'm saying. Number 4 tight end in the league, just sitting there, and no one wanted him. A coach released him. Hard to believe. So I'd argue I probably have 3 of the top 4 tight ends in the league right now sitting on my bench. So that might also be to benefit to me that I don't have to worry about facing those guys either.
Yeah.
Because Higbee's also being a favorite target as well, just like Kittle. So it's those 2 guys are popping off, and then Taysom Hill's out here throwing touchdowns. So
Yeah, he's throwing them, he runs them, so does pretty much everything besides actually play tight end. But that being said, man, I will say, like we said, man, this I will say for Connor Among Thieves, it's this tough loss. I saw him over the weekend, and he was pretty down going into Sunday. Kind of seeing how his team performed, and he saw the writing on the wall. But yeah, this is a pretty down week for him. But just to kind of go over your team first, man. I mean, George Kittle has to be the MVP of your team right now. Last 2 weeks, putting up almost 30 points. Unbelievable performances. Brock Purdy seems to love this guy. No Debo there, no problem. He's George Kittle is the guy. Kirk Cousins another really strong day, outperforming his projection. Not the 40 piece he put up the week before, but still 25 points out of your quarterback. You'll take that every single day of the week.
Oh yeah.
Saquon, he's kind of picked it back up where he was at the beginning to the middle of the year. He kind of fell off there for that like month stretch for you when you were losing some games. But yeah, another 23.3 out of him. That's great. Then Taysom Hill, it's a risky play, man. I know he's ranked really highly. He just had one really huge game early in the year, and he's been putting up a lot of doo-doo numbers. Make fun of the pickup, make fun of the play, make fun of the manager who dropped him, all you want. Still a risky play. That 7.9 projection could have very easily been 1-2 points. Ended up working out for you there. I will say, and it had some bench players, man. So it wasn't all. Even if you took Taysom Hill out, you could have put Higbee in, you could have put Dotson in, and you actually turned out better. So, just a really good performance from your team this week. It's just good stuff.
Pulled Deion Jackson out of that flex spot. Maybe 10 minutes before the game started. Just wasn't too sure how I felt about how they were going to split the ball carry time.
Yeah, I don't know, man, because he was, watching the Monday night game, he was listed as their starting running back, and obviously he barely touched the ball. So I don't really get that. Indy's a dumpster fire. So I think you just made a good decision getting out of that. But I don't think you needed it. If you got 9 points, I think you still had it, but I could check my math, but maybe would have been lost by a 1 or 2. But moving on to just looking at Georgia's team, it just sucks when this kind of thing happens. This is his lowest scoring output in the last 2 months. He's at a couple 118s, and I think I had to go back to week 7 when he did not break 100 was the last time. So just a really down week for the guy. Like you kind of hit on D-Hop with Trace McSorley as a third string quarterback. I don't get why you make your life easy for your third string quarterback and scheme up things for your best player. I think Cliff Kingsbury is getting fired this offseason anyway, as the coach there. But I just don't get how D-Hop didn't get the ball more schemed to him. But that's tough. And then Josh Jacobs, literally with his worst fantasy performance of the year, 5.5 is his lowest that he scored all year. He had a couple 6s in there, but this was his worst performance. And he had a pretty rough post-game press conference about it. Basically just guaranteeing he's not going to be back with the Raiders next year in free agency. And you look at the bench, for George here, and not really much else you could do. Jamal Williams, nothing. Just Derek Carr, nothing. Gabe Davis with 10, but you're not going to play Gabe Davis over DeAndre Hopkins. So
no, I wouldn't just play this any differently.
No, I think he had the right lineup. I just think the guys he rode the whole year, and frankly, Josh Jacobs and DeAndre Hopkins have been top 2, top 3 in their positions when they are on the field, and just didn't work out for him, which is unfortunate, but is the nature of the beast. But that being said, you pushed the right buttons, and got a little bit lucky with that going on there. But I'll let you take a look at Ed and Zach here on their matchup last week.
Man, so with Lamar being down, this Purdy pickup has been huge for him, and I love seeing it. As much crap as I talk, it's kind of cool to see the guy pick up Purdy and then ride with him and have success for the past 3-4 weeks on a row on it now. Andrew's still getting a little bit of a playtime. For his sake, I was hoping he'd get a little more, but I think we can see that back increased again come next week.
Yeah, I just kind of ride at this point with Mark Andrews. To your point, I just kind of am like, unless Lamar's playing quarterback for the Ravens, Andrews is pretty much just not a guy who's going to get the touchdown, get all the targets that he usually gets. No matter with Huntley back there, just doesn't seem to be schemed for him. But you can keep going.
Yeah, Dalvin Cook, not putting up as projected, but it didn't matter because Devonta Smith just raked it in against Dallas. I think in the game it even showed Devonta Smith go, and in Dallas it looked like the Eagles fans after a touchdown were robbing the what was it, the it was like the Goodwill or poised for top spin or something like that after a touchdown. And those
Yeah,
guys were just on
that's a
fire out there.
that's a good bit that they got going on down there the last couple of years in Dallas. But yeah,
That was fun. And then honestly, I mean, going into the playoffs, like Purdy's still gunning good. This Eagles defense is going to be, a tough one to reckon with as well. With the quarterback situation possibly changing this week for the Jets. I'd be curious to see if Zonovan Knight ends up getting a little bit more momentum on these
hmm
drives and putting up more than what he was projected,
yeah,
or
he's
not
been
projected, but what he put out this week.
yeah.
Um, on the flip side, though, Milkman, I expected it to lean Milkman just like I expected it to lean Connor.
We were both 0 for 2 on our picks.
Second or third week in a row that Herbert just hasn't been doing what he was projected to do, and this is one of the better quarterbacks in the league too. So something's going on over there. It just sucks for
Just
these
not
guys.
finding the end zone, man. Just putting up the yards, just not throwing a couple interceptions and not finding touchdowns.
Yeah, solid defense. We knew this was going to happen. He's going to
Yeah.
hit around projection, but when your kicker only puts out a point, also that's like 10 points you banked on having pretty much. And
Mhm.
but yeah, looking at the rundown, I think Zach Moss, I think he expected probably to get like 15 points out of that guy. The way that the
Yeah.
projections were kind of leaning.
Yeah,
So
that's kind of segues right into my like whole point with this matchup is what the fuck was he thinking putting Cam Akers on
Cam
the
Akers.
bench?
Mm.
I mean, Cam Akers has been getting the ball a ton since Baker's taken over the ball and taking over, playing quarterback for the Rams. And, Denver's got a good rush defense, so I get that. But volume is king in fantasy football. We all know that. Indianapolis is a dumpster fire, as I said before, when we were looking at players in previous matchups. I mean, obviously, Cam Akers with a career 3 touchdown day. You just make that swap for Zach Moss. That's the game. He's in the
And
finals.
I might have put Akers in instead of Dillon, and then decided
So
between Dillon or Moss on
yeah,
that.
I don't even hate the AJ Dillon play because he's been playing really well. I just think Zach Moss had a couple nice weeks, but the Colts, especially putting out Nick Foles this week for the starting quarterback instead of either Ryan or Ellinger, just that I mean, they put up 3 points. It's kind of what you expect when you put in a mid-30s quarterback that's had a miracle run and is a very average to pedestrian player with no playmakers around him. So
Yeah.
I get what he was trying to do with Moss because Moss did get a lot of volume, but there's just no help there. The Akers, I mean that just stinks to see.
It's tough.
I personally don't think that was even a decision point. I think Akers needs to be the starter there, but that's my own opinion. I'm out of the playoffs. I got knocked out, so that's just what I think on that one. I'm sure he's going to be disappointed in himself for that decision. But that being said, Herbert, like you said, with another duck, he came into this matchup with 2 guys left on Monday Night Football, and with Zach Moss and Herbert, needed 34 points. Not the craziest margin when it's your quarterback and a running back, but obviously with Herbert only putting up 5 and Moss doing 7.5, not much. But you were asking for a lot. You would need a pretty 3-4 touchdown performance from Herbert and a touchdown from Moss to get it done. But in looking at Ed, like you said, man, Purdy's pretty good, and putting up the numbers, throwing a couple touchdowns, nothing crazy, just solid production. We've said it all year since we started doing this podcast that Ed's got a good roster, got good guys, just been having quarterback problems, and Lamar going down. Lamar might coming back this week. We'll see what he does with his lineup. But yeah, Purdy's been solid. But yeah, the story for me, just kind of like you with Kittle, is Devonta Smith has been the guy that's carried this team above and beyond. The last 4 weeks, he's put up at least 16 points, 220 pieces in there as well. So that's just the guy to really elevate you. That's what you need this time of year, is those guys that have those career days. And that's what you and Ed have gotten to get you guys here. Obviously, as the 4 and 7 seeds, it's kind of the nature of the beast. You aren't supposed to be there. But just everyone else did pretty solid. Dalvin Cook can do a lot better. Zeke can do a lot better. So this team, I think, hit a good projection. But man, just really tough for Milkman because it's a winnable game for what he's been doing the last month or so on this run he's been on. But with all that being said, just going to look ahead now to the championship game and
Yeah.
dive right in. I'll let you take a look and get first cracks. I believe you've set your lineup from what I can tell, and it looks like Ed has set his lineup today as well. So this is what I think he's going to go with as of right now.
Yeah, not much is going to change with what you're seeing here for me. The most you'll see is that the flex position getting interchanged. But yeah, I think this game, if Jackson's back, I which it's looking like, then I think Ed's got a really good shot at winning this thing. I see Dalvin Cook having a good production week. I
Look at
see
the
Mark
projection, man. Tied. That's
and that's
awesome.
crazy.
That's awesome.
You couldn't ask for like a more interesting game.
That's great.
But yeah, like you said, both of these teams are all over the board on this stuff. Both teams have been cracking down in the 80s and 90s lately, and have proven that they can crack up as high as 130s. So I think Ed's shown a little bit more frequency with it. And then our previous matchups, he beat me by a good bit that first time, and then that's when both teams were performing, and that second time, both teams were kind of dragging ass. So I'd be curious to see where we're at now. Jackson was out, I think, last time I played him, or it might have been the week he got injured. I can't remember, but with him back,
Week 13, he was probably out, or that might have been about when he got hurt. But we can look at it real quick.
but yeah, he hasn't had that Andrews production since then. So Jackson's
No,
back, and we know how
yeah,
he favors hitting him.
that was the game Lamar got hurt. If Lamar didn't get hurt, he probably beats you there.
Yeah,
But
he might have knocked me out of the playoffs too. So
yeah, very very possible.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, kind of just looking at anything else you want to add before I kind of go on. I got a couple notes here that I just kind of wanted to run down.
Skimming down, Tampa Bay versus Carolina. Godwin's got a favorable matchup there. Um, I guess Devonta Smith against New Orleans. That's going to be a nice one as well. I'll be curious to see how Dallas pans out against Tennessee.
Yeah,
And then Jackson's he's gonna have something to prove when he comes back. So that's what I'm most scared about is that and the Andrews situation. Going down my list, Cousins, the guy's still super, I'm not totally running with them right now. I do favor Brady against Carolina, but the way he's been playing, I just can't risk it. And I think I'm willing to cash in on this whole Cousins Justin Jefferson gig. What's going to screw me is Nick Chubb just has not been producing, and that's what I'm nervous about right there. I'd be curious to see how DK does against that Jets defense. Dotson, I'm finally comfortable playing this guy.
yeah.
3 weeks in a row he's produced, 2 or he's produced quite high. I think I can go either way on my defenses throughout the week. I'm gonna ride with the Nick Folk train just to see what that gets me.
Guys got you here.
I think Kittle's gonna be on fire against Vegas if I had to guess, but yeah, the whole flex spot, it's no lie that Baker prefers passing to tight ends. That's a trend he's had in the past, and he's starting to show that with Higbee 2 games in a row now. So I hate playing tight ends in flex, but I'm leaning towards that just because Chris Moore didn't perform. So I can't trust that receiver in there.
Yeah,
And
based off what you got, Jackson. I don't hate it. But just kind of looking at these matchups and stuff, man. Like, I think that Ed I think he's going to be set on this lineup. Obviously, if Lamar doesn't play, he's going to put Purdy in there. I personally prefer Purdy in this situation over Lamar, as crazy as that sounds. But Lamar generally does not play well against Pittsburgh. Those Ravens-Steelers games are always really ugly games. So it doesn't really matter who's playing. They're not putting up a lot of fantasy points. You might get a touchdown out of Andrews. But as far as quarterback play, even when Big Ben, Flacco, you can go down the history of the matchup. It's been a lot of stinky performances. So we'll see what he does there. I love the Brian Robinson play. Cleveland has one of the worst rush defenses in NFL history, and I think Brian Robinson's going to get fed. And I think that's a really great play. I love Ayuk has a pretty good matchup against Vegas. I understand why he's not playing him, but I don't hate that matchup either. Or Zonovan Knight even. I like his matchup too. He hasn't been performing, but Seattle cannot stop the run for anything. So
Yeah.
he's got a lot of options. I like his lineup the way it is. But you could make a case for Zonovan Knight, but I don't know who you bench. Um,
I'd
and
play the Brian Robinson card because honestly, the way that the momentum that Washington's had, I was looking at that on his when we're talking about his performance last week.
mhm.
Even though he didn't hit as high as projected, I think you can
They
expect
were
something
playing
like
San
that.
Fran too, man. They were playing the best defense in the league. So you kind of watch that. I think Brian Robinson finds the end zone once, if not twice, and puts up 15 plus carries. So I
Um,
think you expect a really big day out of him. And I would be surprised if he doesn't.
and
Then
Purdy
look,
against Vegas. I mean, that's a big game.
yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't hate Purdy starting there. Obviously, Lamar is the most dynamic player in the NFL. So you can't ever be wrong starting him or thinking that he's going to be a good player.
Could get three
Um,
touchdowns out of him,
you you would think,
rushing
but
touchdowns.
you would think.
Yeah.
But then you got to look at well, if Lamar plays, is Mark Andrews going to be a touchdown guy this week? We don't know. He hasn't done it in a while. Just really a big letdown season for Mark Andrews. Not really his own fault. Just the system that's being run, and the quarterback play in the last month has been pretty subpar as far as throwing the ball. But I love Godwin's matchups.
Mm.
And it looks like is Godwin in that? Yeah, he is. I love Devonta Smith's matchup, and I love Robinson's matchup. So those three guys, I think, and Zeke's got a pretty good one against Tennessee. They got a pretty subpar defense. So I really like a lot of what his lineup's doing. And I'm looking at your team. I think you're pretty set here. I think I like this. I like this. I think this is the best of what you got. Uh, like you kind of hit on tough matchups for DK, Chubb, Kirk, and Dotson. Like Green Bay's got a pretty good secondary. Washington's got a really good front. So Nick Chubb's probably a little bit touchdown dependent this week.
Yeah.
Sauce Gardner's going to be lined up against DK. That DK could rise to the occasion and have a monster day, or Sauce could be doing what Sauce has been doing and being a top 5 corner in the league this year and shutting them down. And even Dotson, man, like Cleveland's got pretty good secondary players. They can't stop the run, so could open a play action play for him down the line here. If especially if Brian Robinson's having a good day, that honestly opens Dotson up for you. But
Yeah.
just tough. And then the double tight end play, like you hit on, man, it's not the sexiest thing ever. You don't love it, can't be super comfortable with it, but I don't think it's the wrong thing in this situation with the guys you have on your bench. So yeah, I think this game's going to be super tight. All that being said, I just based off what I said, Ed's got a lot of guys on good matchups, and you just have some guys who are good players, but don't have the greatest matchups in the world. And looking at that, I lean Ed probably by a touchdown, 7-point score differential here, just based off those things. And I didn't even talk about the kickers and defenses. I'm so sorry. You got to respect the man, Brett Maher, #1 kicker in fantasy football this year. So Nick Folk's been good too. Your defensive situation, Bills or Jets, I think you're kind of toss ups there because, I mean, since he's explosive as all hell, and Seattle's been clicking too. So that's not the best, not the easiest, but I don't hate what you did. And Eagles against New Orleans, I think that's got potential to be a big output for Ed too.
Oh yeah.
Didn't even count on that, but I lean Ed. What's your prediction here?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very quarterback dependent game. I think it could go either way. I think I hate to say it, but I think that both teams are pretty set projection wise between all positions, with the exception of that quarterback slot. And I think that you can either you know, way over or undershoot no matter which quarterback you plug in. I think the only somewhat reliable projection for either team with the quarterback stat would be that Purdy one.
Yeah,
Um,
I think you're going to get what you're going to get from Purdy, and anything from Lamar could be a 14-pointer, could be a 30-pointer. You
yeah.
don't know.
Same with Cousins, although I would
Yeah,
argue Cousins is probably aiming at that higher higher
Yeah,
end with a 21-point projection.
yeah,
So
I like his projection this week. I think that's probably fair, unless he throws some interceptions in there.
yeah, but yes, I hate to say it, but I am kind of leaning towards Ed on this one. If things stay the same, the only thing is like the whole Lamar Jackson situation. Like I don't even know where I feel like was a Baltimore fan on this one. Do I want the guy back? Going into the playoffs, like it definitely might get us there, but it could also be a gamble. And then fantasy wise too, like I think if he's back, Andrews is definitely going to be cooking. But
Yeah,
if it was me, I just don't know who I honestly don't know who I would play as quarterback in this situation. Like so, it's a tough one. It should be an interesting week. Are most of the games on
yeah.
Sunday?
Yes, most games are. I don't believe there's any Saturday games. I don't think there's a Thursday night game, and then I think it's Sunday. I could be wrong, but I didn't see any Saturday games. I'm gonna do a quick Google search just to confirm.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'd be lying if I didn't say I got my eyes on the two-time, and I didn't expect to make it this far. I'm not going to get my hopes up. Um, but even though Ed's probably my biggest rival or only rival this season, since some of my other rivals have just fizzled out
Eh,
pretty early on,
but
I'd be excited to see him win it too, though, because talk about a
yeah,
comeback story if he pulls it off. So
yeah, man. But yeah, no Saturday games. So everything on Sunday is pretty much normal football weekend. Thursday, Sunday, Monday. Um, but yeah, no, I think as much as it pains me to say it, we got to give you props, man, because you won last year. You had a really good year the year before, and you're back in the finals again with, uh, people say luck, people say whatever. You've had two really good performances in the playoffs. You've pushed the right buttons. You made the right decisions. So, you get cheater, hacker accusations out there.
all day
Uh,
long.
but at the end of the day, man, it's as much of a dickhead as you can be in this. You know what you're doing, and it goes to show with what your record is in the league history and all that, and then just looking at Ed too, man. He was in the finals against Ryan in 2020 and had that devastating loss because that was when Stephon Diggs had that 200-yard, 3-touchdown performance to get Ryan the win on Monday Night Football. That obviously stings like hell, but
Ryan's all about knocking teams out in the playoffs and then blowing it.
yeah,
But
that was something I don't think I'd ever. That run that he went on was in 2020 was unbelievable, but really tough loss for Ed to have there. And again, just good management on his part, man. He got in the playoffs, was on a downslide coming in, and got two big wins to get here. I mean, like I said, he's the 7th seed, you're the 4th seed, so
didn't expect either.
no one saw. I mean, we expected both of your teams to get knocked out week 1, and here we
Honestly,
are.
that Cam Akers getting benched is, I think, the only saving grace. I think had Cam Akers been played this week, you're looking at a Milkman championship. Because I'd say there's no way that
Yeah, I
going to go
think
another week.
Milkman definitely deserved it the way he was on. But hey, man, you punch your ticket in the dance and anything can happen. You're talking about the Ravens. That might not seem like the most favorable Super Bowl team right now, but they got a chance like anybody else. So, it's what you do with your opportunity. But anything, how do you feel about your potential 2-time win here?
I I feel better at having a shot at an outcome than I have in the past 2 weeks. Just because the past 2 weeks my team have been coming up from those 80, 90 point games. So to see 2 weeks in a row of like a high score output, I feel better about my projection. But then I'm the team I'm up against, same thing that like that as we've seen. Ed has proven he can bounce around with the projections, and I think he's going to put up some points this week. So I'd love to see it be a tight matchup all the way to the end. I think that's the most fun.
Yeah,
There's nothing worse than like after the first games on Sunday, you kind of know what the outcome is. So, but yeah, I'm shooting for the two-time. I'm hoping for a tight game, and I'm not upset if I see you know Ed pull it off. I think he's definitely a deserving team. So
well, that's very nice of you to say. Another exciting news. This game will be decided on Sunday. There are no Monday nighters.
yeah,
All of your and his lineups, it looks like, unless there's a lineup change, it's all gonna be decided on Sunday. So we'll know who's the champion going to bed Sunday night. So that's pretty cool. Obviously, people change their lineups. It is what it is, but that's pretty cool. It's pretty fun, man. It's been fun doing this podcast. This is probably our
Oh,
last one for the foreseeable future until we talk about league updates, draft, all that kind of stuff. So, anything you want to say to the viewers out there who's been supporting and buying our lunches, supporting us out here, all that.
yeah. So the fans of this team, I appreciate the support. Unfortunately, a lot more here there. So nothing better than salt and squeeze lemon into those wounds of all the haters out there, and I plan on doing that this Sunday. So
There you
but
go.
thank you for those that have been riding with me.
Hey, I don't think anybody's riding with you, but
I got
it's
Wazinski.
you do have Wazinski. He's your ride or die for sure. But I
Yeah.
think I did get some comments from Ed. Yeah, he's excited to be here. He can't believe that he's here, just probably like you can't. And yeah, he's just looking forward to it and hopes to come on the right end of it and hopes for a good game. So we'll see what he does with the lineup, as far as the quarterback situation goes, I think. And after that, we'll just be watching on Sunday and seeing what happens. But for the last time, sign off, Coach. Have a good night.
You too. Thanks for having me.